All right, and welcome to Tinfoil Tidbits, episode 15. This one is on user comments. So these are pretty much comments that were left on the channel. Over the past month, there was some increased traffic on this particular video that I made back in 2018, and that is, if this isn't the Matrix simulation, then what is it? I'm happy it blew up out of nowhere, brought in a whole lot of new people, which had a lot of comments, and these are the only ones that I kind of snapped. There was a lot of great ones. These just happen to be the ones that I captured. So here they go. So Justin Sharp says, this makes sense. I live in a big city, and everywhere there are skyscrapers, supposedly full of people working who have money and cars and families, not to mention mortgages. But what is their job? I'm not fooled. Not only are there background people, but huge buildings and most houses are props. It's a game, and it's difficult. This guy gets it. Justin gets it. And, I often look at just, especially the wealth when you're around the beach and you see all these yachts and fancy houses and there's so much of it. It's in abundance. You're like, what do these people do to make a living to be able to afford this kind of life? But that's not what he's talking about. He's just saying, who knows how much of this stuff is, especially the cities, the skyscrapers. How did all those get built? What kind of jobs? You know what I mean? Anyway, it's a good comment. I like it. John Buckner says, this makes me think of Star Trek episode Elementary, My Dear Data, or Ship in a Bottle. Remember as a kid playing Mario on Nintendo and wondering if we were like Mario, and if so, how could it be possible to even be aware of the hardware, let alone understand it? And I actually use that exact example a lot. Usually when talking about fate, when people want to know about free will and fate and all that. And I say, well, Super Mario has a destiny. You could either save the princess or you could quit on level 5-3. You could use the time warps, the warp zones, those pipes. There's a couple of different ways you could beat the game. But ultimately, the goal is to save the princess, but you could also try to get the most points. The game was pre-written. It's up to you to want to go through with it. So it's like you have free will, but you also have a destiny. It's both. Oftentimes when we try to say it's one or the other, generally it's something in between or both. And it's okay to be both. If you think about the yin yang, it has the white and the black, the light and the dark. So everybody wants it to be one way. Everybody's an extremist in one extreme or the other. Find the balance. And that's also the wisdom of the ages, is to have balance. Star Wars, balance in the Force. And this is kind of neat. It's like a question and answer section where I'm utilizing these comments to expand upon. So it's a good idea to do these Tinfoil Tidbits comment sections every now and then. And I didn't plan any of this. I just paste these things in. I just got back from Las Vegas and I'm packing right now. I'm doing this in between to just kind of, let a little bit out before I get back to packing. I got to go to South Florida. So this isn't even planned. I just collect these. They go into my PowerPoint over time. And here we are. Anyway, let's get on with the show. All right, Jay Sims. This is all from the same video. If this isn't the Matrix simulation, then what is it? I've watched it a couple times also since it kind of went micro viral. It's not really viral, but more views than normal. It's a pretty good video. It's a pretty good video. And for the uninitiated to this channel, it must have been something interesting. Like for the most of us, you go back and you're watching, you're like, yeah, of course. But imagine getting that information for the first time. So anyway, so JSims528 says, we volunteered to play the game, knowing that would we not even know that we were playing the game, knowing that we ourselves made all of the rules and put all of the obstacles in front of our avatar so we could make it as hard as possible for us, but we still can't even remember this. The point of the game is to get out of the game. It's not easy when you don't know that you're in a game, and when all of your loved ones are trying to convince you that it's not a game, they are probably NPCs, just part of the game, trying to make it harder for us. But remember, all that matters is love and finding your way out of the game. Amen on JSims528. I mean, I don't even know if he's a longtime viewer of this channel, but this hits on a couple of topics that I've brought up many times. I talk about find the door. I talk about obstacle course theory, and you can see in here he's got obstacles in front of our avatar. it'd be great if we both came to these same ideas independently of each other. Volunteering to play the game. You know, I call my next book will be called Voluntary Existence. I call this whole thing Voluntary Existence. And not knowing that we're playing the game, you know, having our minds erased, and then the people trying to convince you that this is real. In my Question Reality series, I touch on that as well. So yeah, people try to make you believe it's real. If you try to say it's fake, they're like, nah, it's real. And they pinch you, they hurt you to make you believe that it's real, and they peer pressure you into saying that this is all real. And it's like, we can't talk about it. I'm not in the know. I just remember choosing my life, but I often wonder if everybody else knows that we're in a game. And that the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. The first rule of the game is you don't acknowledge that it's a game. Even though you got like Dick Gregory saying it's a game, Tupac saying it's a game. It's a game. It's a game. Just trying to make it harder. Yeah. And, you know, all these institutions and job creation and all that does to create jobs, you basically make life harder and you break it in. And that's how you create the jobs and specializations and whatnot. All that matters is love. All we need is love. And finding your way out of the game. Find the door. So if I did inspire this, I feel great about this comment. And if I didn't, I feel great about it, in that people out there are simultaneously coming to the same exact conclusions that I have. So this is an A+ comment. And you know, the part where he's talking about your family members require you to believe that it's real. Remember in Truman Show when Jim Carrey's best friend was like assigned to keep him like in their little world? So you wonder how many NPCs or just characters are there that are designed to, guide your path, maybe not to your best interest, or maybe for your best interest, to keep you from finding out the truth. There's a line in the movie The 13th Floor where she said, you and Fuller were not supposed to discover the truth, that you were a simulation within a simulation. And then even in The Matrix, to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave, Neo. Or the part where he turns you into a battery. Planet Juneberry says, you are spot on. Planet Juneberry has been building a unifying theory of everything for about 5 years in Tweethole. Divine. Find the door. So Planet Juneberry, obviously, shout out, because find the door. Find the door. Planet Juneberry, building a unified theory of everything. A toe, my big toe, by Thomas Campbell. Thomas Campbell, do you guys all watch Thomas Campbell? Because that guy is the best at simulation theory. Like, my hat's off to him. I like Thomas Campbell way more than Nick Bostrom. He takes himself too serious, whereas Thomas Campbell's just having the best time out of any of us. So if you've never seen Thomas Campbell and you like simulation theory, if you're wasting your time with me on it, you got to go to Thomas Campbell. He is, I crown him king of simulation theory. But I do welcome your visitation on my channel as well. But definitely check out Thomas Campbell, the author of My Big Toe, TOE, Theory of Everything. Great comment by Planet Juneberry. All right, Chris Nice. Whatever this thing is we're in, it's more than we were told. Consider the power of our mind and brain. Whatever the most powerful computer in the world is, it can't compare to what our mind brain can do. And every single person has one. But I always see this place as a company, and they are the managers. But every now and then, the store owner checks in to see how the store is doing. The owners would be the aliens, but really just people. Just like people have ant farms and watch for amusement, but on a larger scale. I'm sure there is an island of clones living, and they are watching and observing. The same thing has been going on since we were genetically created to dig out gold. This is internet gold right here. Now that I read it, I just want to go through this one by one because there's so much cool stuff going on here. All right, whatever this thing is, it's more than we're told. Absolutely. Consider the power of our mind and brain. And this is a key part here. Most of the time, and pass this kind of concept on to others. When you watch like Discovery Channel or you watch people talk about science, they marvel at our brains are so amazing and it can do so many things, or the universe is so grand and spectacular. But they never they leave it there, and then they never say, hey, our brains are so far out, man, so beyond what our technology can do. And, you don't want to just be lazy and say God, right? And you don't even want to. Evolution is just as a lazy answer as God is. The spectacular design to not just our brains, but our bodies, our circulatory system, our skeletal system. We got muscles, tendons, and veins, and capillaries. This whole experience, just our bodies, let alone everything else out there, let alone the jellyfish and the atoms and the plants. Just our bodies alone should be an indicator that this is not real. This is such a magnificent machine. And I'm not saying it like they say it. I'm saying it like I can't even believe I own this. I own this body. It's phenomenal. I can cut myself and it grows back. This just is not real. And every single person has one, yeah. But I always see this place as a company. The company part, if you ever seen Westworld, season 1, episode 1, where it talks about there's the shareholders, the investors, and the managers, and then the users, the park goers. Westworld really hit it on the head. But every now and then the store owner checks in, and the store owners would be the aliens. That's hilarious. That's awesome. Absolutely. They're really just people. They're just like people have ant farms. I'm always talking. When I saw Ants Canada, there's a channel called Ants Canada on YouTube. They sell like ant farms and ant tunnels, and the best marketing idea ever. So they create storylines out of their ant kingdoms. Like they have a Game of Thrones ant episode, and they basically show what happens when these ants like come in contact with each other, and they show all the not barriers to entry, but barriers to exit. So they have all different ways. Like sometimes it's chemicals, sometimes it's a physical barrier, sometimes it's an invisible barrier. And when you watch enough of these ant farm videos, you start to wonder about the ocean. That's a barrier, the depth of it, the ice wall in Antarctica, all the animals, all the microorganisms. There's so many 10 million ways to die. Choose one. But on a much larger scale, I'm sure there's an island of clones living, and they are. You guys ever seen The Island, the newer one with Scarlett Johansson and Ewan McGregor? Great movie. Like if you ever do watch it, the scene with Steve Buscemi where he breaks it down to him, just take that as real. Don't take that as fiction. They are watching and observing. The same thing has been going on since we were genetically created to dig out gold, and that's the Anunnaki story with Zachariah Sitchin from the Sumerian stone tablets. I mean, there it is written in stone, right? All right, Vindog says, the Earth is the best game ever created because the game creators cared. There are no glitches or anything, and it all works perfectly. I loved this comment. The game creators cared. And there's no glitches or anything. It all works so perfect. When I saw this, I woke up to this comment on the push notifications on the phone. And all day I was smiling, and people were like, what the heck are you smiling about? What's that smirk about? And I'm like, man, the game creators cared. The creators of the game of Earth cared, and that's why there's no glitches or anything. Great comment by Vindog. Made my day. Put a permanent smirk all day. Christian Babis, and this is still in the same video. If we are a simulation, can we rewind the simulation, go back in time? I'd assume so. I just don't know how. But the allure of a time machine has always been there. And I'm sure once we figure it out, we'll wonder how we didn't figure it out earlier. But then in contrast to that, I always say, if time travel could exist, it would then always exist. Because somebody with time travel go back to the beginning of time and have somebody invent the time machine at the beginning of time. And then you got others that say, there is no time. We are in this eternal moment, which that concept is such a concept. So let me say that again and kind of wrap your mind on this. There is no, and this isn't necessarily what I believe, but this is one of those concepts that I'm like, man, it's like an argument better than the ones that I'm presenting, right? So when you get crowned on like, hey, what about this? If we're in the eternal now, that there is no past, there is no future, there's only the now. And he's like, disprove it. And it's like, well, I could leave a note from the past. there's ways you can disprove it, but just the concept of the eternal now, and I'm not saying it in the way that a lot of people are like, I just want to live in the now. And that is cool to be in the moment, but oftentimes when it's used, it's by people that don't want to prepare for the future or acknowledge their past. They just want to live in this eternal moment. I always hate escapism or the escape of responsibility because, money sucks, right? The whole financial system, it works against everybody. But you got to live with that reality, and you got to be responsible and handle your money and not just live in the eternal now. That's what cocaine users are like. Don't tell me about tomorrow. It's all about today. And I'm like, yeah, but tomorrow's going to happen, and your nose is going to hurt tomorrow. Don't tell me about that. All right, here's a comment. Have you ever been called not normal? This is a great video I made like 4 or 5 years ago. Not many people have seen it. Helen Flowers leaves this nice comment. Not sure how I came upon your channel, man, but wow, thank you. And I thought my eyes were open. Seems the layers just keep peeling. Less than 500 views makes me sad. Keep them coming, man. So thanks for that nice comment. And I brought this up just to point out, like, if you haven't seen that video, it's a pretty cool video. It was fun to make. And like she said, less than 500 views. It's one of those messages that I think once you hear it, you can't like unhear it. T on my Simulation Theory Chapter 2 says, old world views are almost like an addiction to people. You are my new favorite channel. Well, cool. Thanks. I guess maybe this came on a day where like I woke up and I was like, and then I saw that. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, man. Sometimes, you need some positive reinforcement. Not all the time, but every now and then it comes at the right time. So reality, the neurological experience. This is probably still to this day my favorite video I ever made. I made it in 2003. This is before YouTube and all that. So Muka Z says, hey man, you've been around before everyone else I've known about. You got a really solid channel as it seems. I subscribed. I wish you had more subscribers to your channel though. You need to become more popular. I agree. So you guys got to help me out, man. If I ever make a good video, like this one isn't really a shareable video. This is kind of like a intergroup kind of video. But if I ever drop a video on a topic, YouTube doesn't help me out anymore. I'm not featured on any of the suggested videos. So if you want this channel's ideas to spread, it's up to you guys to share them in locations. And that's how it drives traffic, because YouTube's not doing it for me anymore. Ever since I made that QAnon video. All right, John Barbados. I don't know what video this is from, but he says, Holographic Universe. John, thanks for sharing this very interesting information with me. It certainly makes sense to me. The anthropic principle alone should be enough for skeptical scientists to understand that the laws of physics and mathematics are the laws of God's own mind. Kevin Williams. James Gate, PhD, a theoretical physicist at the University of Maryland, said, if the simulation hypothesis is valid, then we open the door to eternal life and resurrection and things that formerly have been discussed in the realm of religion. Our Creator created linear space-time, which is essentially controlled electrical energy. Space-time, which is essentially controlled electrical energy in the form of light that has existed eternally. Check out on YouTube a fractal universe. Time and space must exist before matter can be created, and only an animate entity can conceive of space-time. This prerequisite must be a stabilized and uniform condition before matter can form. Thus, monotheism is a truth. A stable space-time and the universal laws of physics did not happen by chance. On January 17, 2000 at 2 p.m., while crossing a river bridge in Burswood, Australia on my bicycle, I observed a velvet-textured beige pearl covering the sun. Within the entity, there were containers in the shape of elongated, seven-pointed cock snowflake fractal crystals immersed in a white misty light traveling in a 10 o'clock direction. I later deduced that the light flashes on the inner space of the crystals were of a binary language conversion pertaining to the senses of all mortals, that is, a holographic universe. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, Nikola Tesla. And so, yeah, there's that comment. And what I've noticed lately, and this isn't pertaining to John Barbados, but people in general like not people that are on this channel, but simulation theory is becoming more mainstream, and a lot of other science fiction-esque type concepts are coming out more mainstream. And it's like people need to have an institution to hide behind. So for many, it's science, and so they adopt, like, I don't want to call it atheism, but they adopt in their mind the scientific method or science, where they have to be like all objective truth and no subjective truth is allowed. Now, I like objective truth because we got to deal with reality. But when you're all the way objective, you miss out on the glory of the mystery. And it's also, it's not arrogant, it's ignorant to think that we've figured out all of it. And the scientific revolution has only been on for 300 to 400 years. So to think we figured it all out, and not everybody's a scientist, only scientists are scientists, right? So to think that just the field of science has figured it out, or the religion, right? So there was a little dabble of religion, and then it's going to this monotheism, which would throw out polytheism. And so any of these exclusions, so if you're all the way science, or you're all the way religion, or you're all the way monotheistic, or all the way polytheistic, it locks you into a mindset, and it insults the creator. And I say the creator to just not get into a religious debate. To think that the creator would only be smart enough to create it in a single way and not have the mystery be multi-layered, 5-dimensional chess. Because look at it, as we peel the layers, you go from atoms to subatomic particles. And then after they got past those, they found out there's even more. There's gluons and quarks. And even beyond that, they found that there's strings. And then beyond that, they found that it's just a particle or a wave of possibility. And then you can't observe it, because if you observe it, then you're the observer. So to think that we're going to be able to figure this out is preposterous. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to figure it out. But I'm trying to get... Part of my philosophy that I've always spread is all ways are the only way. This is the first tenet of my little cult. And that's all ways are the only way. There's never only one answer except that which is all answers. And so as I say this is to offend everybody. Whether you're science, whether you're religion, whether you're this or you're that. If you're stuck in a single framework, because all these singular groups here, they have frameworks. And I used to say to, like, just as a thought experiment to religious people, because especially with religions, they feel like their religion's the best. And then you even break down, Christianity breaks out into all these different groups, Christians and Catholics and Baptists and Episcopalians, all of them, right? And Lutherans, and each of those groups think that they have it over another one. It's like, man, you guys are all Christians. But then outside of that, the Christians think they got it right, but the Muslims think they got it right. And the Jews kind of somehow stay out of it. And if they both think they're right, science thinks they got it right, religion thinks they got it right. Everybody thinks that their framework is the framework. Everybody in sports thinks that their sports team is the best sports team. So everybody gets involved with their framework, and the frameworks lock you in. Now, it's good to have a framework, because if you don't have a framework, then you're just flapping all around. But when you become political with your framework, and religion could be politics, or science versus religion is like politics, and then you stick to a side, and then you don't hear the other side, and you think that you have the ultimate absolute truth, we haven't had enough time to figure out the truth. And so where I was going with this is, a lot of mainstream people, I think deep down they all know about this simulation theory, or it makes sense where they're like, a lot of this does kind of make sense. How did all this stuff get here? And all these laws of physics that work, and thermodynamics, there seems to be a design to it. But you can't just go out and say that, because then you seem crazy, and everybody wants to seem like they're not crazy. And I'm trying to say, if you're trying to act normal, that's crazy. It's okay for us to be like, Whoa, man, this game is insane. The graphics are incredible. The detail is superb. This is, as the previous comment said, this is the most amazing game of all time. The creators of the game cared. So I know everybody wants to be professional. Everybody wants to act like they're the expert in their field. But that is what holds back our progress. Have your framework, promote your framework, but be flexible. Because if you think you're going to figure out simulation theory by applying things like, science, established science to figure this all out, you're going to waste a lot of time and you're just going to engage yourself in a lot of linguistic, pseudo-intellectual type stuff. If that's what you like doing, then keep doing that. But I think you guys get what I'm trying to say. Let's let go of the facade of being such a professional and I'm all science, and say, hey, this is a lot of fun. This is a pretty cool game. And let's approach it with a little bit more fun. But obviously we want to apply some science to it too. But anyway, that's what I'm seeing. Because nobody touches flat Earth, but everybody in some way will touch simulation theory at this point. And what's amazing about simulation theory is that it's become so dominant that everybody has to. The only thing I'm seeing against it now is people are saying it's like a defeatist mentality, like along the lines of evolution where we're just a speck of dust. But I'm saying, no. If this is a game, then we're all voluntarily here to have a good time. Are we having a good gaming experience or not? So anyway, it's a good post, but as I read it, it got too professional for professional sake. It's good to be professional, but if you're doing it to just have a fun time with simulation theory, you don't have to, put on a show for it. Enjoy it. You think Nikola Tesla put on a show? Nikola Tesla, think about it. Tesla was so far out, man, and that's why he was able to invent and discover all the things he did, because he didn't have a limitation. He didn't have a singular framework. He just brought it all in. He was open to it all. When you get open to it all, you can make greater discoveries than anybody that's learned a framework. See, and I guess the part I saw was when I see must. Time and space must exist before matter can be created, and only an animate entity can conceive of space-time. And it's like, really? Why? I mean, it's a good statement, but must. If it's not a must, you know what I mean? Just let's have a little bit of fun. And you know what? I'm pretty sure John was having a little bit of fun. Maybe this is the way he's having fun. I'm just giving you guys permission. Have a good time. The professionalism, you're not the expert. God's the expert, and we don't have his manual. And this line here, everybody quotes it. Nobody really understands it. If you want to find the secrets I even have it on a shirt. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla. I'm a Nikola Tesla fanatic. I've quoted that line so many times. I don't fully grasp it. I mean, I understand it on the surface, but what he really meant. All right, so Muad'Dib, the 33 continents after the Antarctic ice wall. So after I've deleted all my videos when I got demonetized, this is now the highest viewed video on my channel. Those 33 continents are what we call planets. It extends further out. There is a reason why space is cold. That space is traversing the ice barrier. NASA and the military... Ooh, that's a good point. They always say space is cold. That space is traversing the ice barrier. NASA and the military have broken the barrier. This is what they are concealing. Rockets and spaceships are the most expedient way to move past the ice wall, but those other land masses can be accessed via the terrestrial, but it would take a very long time, and the odds of survival, 0. The way past the ice wall terrestrially is guarded and would be a perilous journey for anyone who would dare attempt to do it. They would freeze to death. So vehicles that can fly above the ground can barely get to some of these continents' planets. Unmanned probes have been sent out to them, and some are still en route. There is intelligent life on many of them, but they are not like us and they have issues with warring with their neighbors. We definitely do not want to get involved in their conflicts. We are petty and insect-like to them. The atmosphere on most of these continent planets is toxic to us. By the way, the ice barrier was created by those who live outside of it, not for their protection, but ours. As the planet heats up and the ice slowly begins to melt, we will see major weather patterns and strange events in the sky above us. If the ice wall melts, our world as we know it will be covered and submerged. In time, billions of years, dry land will appear and life forms will appear on it. Another ice wall constructed and the cycle begins again. Evidence that we existed buried deep below the oceans. Now that's a sci-fi story for your ass. Or is it a story? That's a great comment. A lot of new concepts there, yeah. Space is the ice, the planets, and like the Voyager has just been traveling forever and ever on the infinite plane. All right, so that concludes this. This went way longer. I thought this was going to be a 5-minute video, but these comments were so good, it drove so much commentary. So that's what happens to me when I don't plan. It ends up being almost a half hour. Well, anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this was useful to you. Let me know in the comments, thumb it up, all that good stuff if you like it. And I'll see you in the next one. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do. Thanks.